The folks over at Yas Island, specifically the folks over at Miral, might have a huge tourism problem on their hands as British Airways has canceled all Abu Dhabi flights as regional instability is raising questions about safety in the area. What does this mean for this burgeoning tourism industry in the Middle East, specifically Disney's upcoming Abu Dhabi resort? Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. Guys, this was sent to me just yesterday. Our friend Caroline Reed of Forbes reached out to me and said, hey, I don't know if you saw this, British Airways is canceling all flights to Abu Dhabi. And they did. I looked into it, and they're suspended until later this year. According to the report, all British Airways flights to and from Abu Dhabi have been canceled until later this year. Routes to several other major regional destinations, including Amman, Bahrain, Doha, Dubai, and Tel Aviv, have also been suspended for the near future. And this is a tourism hub that has spent billions upon billions building itself into one of the world's premier vacation destinations. But all of that seems to have come at a terrible time for them, guys, because they are pulling the plug on, transportation to these attractions. And if British Airways is doing it, it's only a matter of time before the other airlines start doing it as well. Now, what's going on at Yas Island? Ferrari World Abu Dhabi, which is what you see. This massive thing right here is Ferrari World. So you got Ferrari World there. You've got Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi. You've got SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. You've got Yas Water World. Yes. And you've got the Etihad Arena, which hosts major concerts and sporting events. So guys, this is a huge deal for Yas Island. And if issues in the Middle East continue to sprout up like this, if this is not a quick thing, then we may be looking at major disruption to this up and coming tourism industry. But then the other point I would make about this is that these American companies are not feeling the financial pinch of that because they're only renting their license out. They're not actually paying to put these together. But Vash, huge issue for the people at Yas Island and Miral here.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and we've seen all kinds of flight disruptions in this region of the world, also too in the United States, with all kinds of havoc being done with TSA and everything else, which is really unfortunate. But for this particular region of the world, it has certainly been affected by what is taking place. There's no question. But the tourism market in particular has taken quite the hit. Right? You have a lot of people who are, I think, still stuck in this region of the world right there. Can't get out. Can't get the proper flights necessary in order to move people as much as they were previously able to do. Dubai Airport being closed for an extended period of time, only letting out certain flights and so forth. There has been a big Financial Times article that was published not too long ago, I believe 2 days ago, intimating that possibly some of these leaders and officials that have been investing in American products and so forth in order to get more tourism or in multiple industries might be pulling back their investments. So what does that mean for morale? What does that mean for Disney's relationship with them? I'm not quite sure, but the tourism sector in this region of the world been unfortunately just really the perception of it has been affected, no doubt, but they have taken tremendous losses with having to cover people's expenses for the overstay that they actually had to incur for some of these people who are stuck there. Major tourist sites have been affected directly, and I can't really say much more than that on YouTube. It's just been a disaster. It's just been really bad. And I believe Marvin, I don't know if you covered this earlier in That Park Place coverage, but as you pointed out beautifully in your article that you published on the site right there, IAPA being affected as well, and the Themed Entertainment Association, both, I believe, canceling their events.
Yep. Yeah. TEA and IAPA both have when I'd written the article, IAPA was still dragging its feet. Has IAPA officially canceled it yet? Because last I had looked, they were still kind of ho-humming about it.
Yeah, they were kind of humming about it. I would be very shocked if they were still going forward with it.
There have been a lot of internal reports saying that the event is essentially canceled now behind the scenes, like fully. But yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be this was going to be a big deal for the folks over at Miral and in the UAE, because you were going to have major theme park events here, all the major players and shakers were going to converge on Yas Island, for these events, and now they can't. And culture, it has to make you wonder, what kind of future does tourism have in an area that kind of erupts into these major, issue. I'm trying to think of a YouTube friendly way to say it. These major global issues, periodically.
Yeah, geopolitically speaking, I think that if the goals of this current situation are resolved as planned, it'll create more stability and more comfort with traveling to this region. But that's a big if. You have to get away from having this kind of volatility. And just like with the thing we're dealing with, all around the country and around the world, is the price of fuel. And, that also factors into the amount of tourism that they could receive, not just the safety factor, but just the affordability factor. It's certainly not easy or cheap to travel to Abu Dhabi. And if your goal is to visit all these amazing, places to retreat, from your humdrum every day, Miral is probably weeping over the fact that, it's going to cost more to get people to and fro and to host them, because a lot of things are brought in from outside. And, you don't just have to worry about the cost of oil and things like that, but the desalinization required to support these massive areas of that most people don't think of. Every bit of water in this area, as far as I know, is desalinization process. So, like I said, there's enormous factors involved in here that, again, I think will be cleared up with the activities of the current, but it's going to take them longer to develop everything they're doing. Because I guarantee you, there are no Disney people like there right now. Mm-hmm. I would have imagined the company would have followed the first evacuation suggestion. So,
now, MJ, I'd love to get the parental perspective on this here. I mean, if you're planning a trip, if there's even the possibility that something like this can happen, I mean, how does that put off any kind of planning that you might be doing for your family? I mean, you got to be thinking, like, because with the Middle East, you kind of never know when these situations are going to suddenly pop off.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely take extra precaution, and I would probably hold off till the kiddos are old enough to handle that kind of travel. I know there's a lot of people that travel with little ones all over the world, but this part of the world, you got to think about it a couple of times. I would probably head to Japan before I head over here with the kids, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't see it happening while they're this young. Like I said, probably when they're like in their teens and they can kind of, think a little bit better, because they're counting on you right now because they're so young. And it's tough traveling with kids. Let's just face it. All those, especially the babies crying, and oh my God. So yeah, no, I would definitely think about it more than once. Would I be intrigued on visiting? Yes. The experiences in that whole place look really appealing to me, and I would love to be able to venture off that way one day, but I don't see it happening as far as for myself or the family at any time. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Erika, we have seen in the past that these operations that kind of take place in the Middle East, specifically when the United States does end up getting involved, we saw it in Iraq, we saw it in Afghanistan, they are typically not short campaigns. These typically go on for years and years. So do you think there's a possibility that this could extend long enough to the point where it actually impacts the opening of Disney's future in Abu Dhabi?
Oof, I think culture touched really well on it. We have an administration that hopefully will clear this up faster than past administrations, and maybe they will see peacetime sooner than later. But we also only have the past to be our best predictor of the future. And, one thing I wanted to touch on is in terms of tourism in the Middle East, a lot of these places cater to more of the locals. There's not a whole lot of international tourism going into the Middle East. It's basically just to say, oh, look what we have. The locals go. If you do happen to travel to these places, you're literally on business. And we're talking people that are in the upper echelon of the financial world that have a lot of money and they're just passing through on a layover. And that's if they even want to stop by a park like that because it's so hot all the time.
And that's an interesting perspective there, Erica, because I think you're correct on that. But one of the things that Bob Iger said when he first announced this was that, like, oh, well, we're so much closer in Abu Dhabi to like the majority of the world's population in all of these surrounding countries. But if the other countries aren't coming in, Vash, then what do you think, about that statement by Bob Iger? Was that just wishful thinking?
Yeah, the crossroads of the world, I believe you refer to this region, especially with the Dubai airport being a layover for so many international flights in this section of the world. Look, if a lot of people aren't visiting, that's no good. But I think they were. I think the idea was, okay, let's go ahead and make a lot of long-term investments now, and that way this kind of industry can grow for us in the future. I don't know where that trajectory is quite at this moment now, with that perception out there that, hey, a hotel that you might be staying in might not be there the next day, kind of thing. Like it's just a little worrisome, I think, to international travels, that this region of the world has so many of these type of conflicts. That was one of the reasons behind the Abraham Accords, as we've covered on this show multiple times. It's like, look, if you want to build up your tourism industry, people have to know that you're safe, and so that means peace. Unfortunately, that did not take place here, obviously, and it's just led to a lot of disruption, which is no good. And that's the thing, like, we just had Six Flags Qiddiya open recently with the world's largest coaster and so forth, and that park looks great, looks awesome. Now what happens to that park? What happens to Universal's plans of bringing their own park to this region of the world, as has been speculated in the media for a little while now? It's just all of these things now in flux, maybe because of what's going on today.
Well, and you wonder, like, honestly, I don't think that American companies would have ever paid to have, like, I don't think Disney or SeaWorld or Warner Brothers or Ferrari would have ever put their own money up to do an attraction in this part of the world, because it cannot come as a surprise to anyone when the Middle East erupts into war, because it happens so often. It is one of the most unstable areas on the planet. So it's really a Middle Eastern company that's assuming all the financial risk in this, that being Miral.
Yeah. And they're willing to do it. These countries we underestimate how rich they are. And in some areas, they extend stipends to their citizens and even cars. I'm talking like Land Rovers. And they have nothing but money to just do whatever they want with. And if they want to have a Disney named park, yeah, sure, they'll throw money at it and they'll get it. And they're fully aware of their own goings of that part of the region and the world, but they don't really care. They can afford to lose the money. They're like, whatever, that's what they want.
And then at the end of the day, what you've got is, a situation where these companies, I think, are trying to diversify because they don't want the bulk of their wealth coming from just oil anymore. They want to be able to have something else, because what happens if if in the future oil becomes more scarce, or we start to move away from fossil fuels. I think it's an investment in the future, but it's all a matter of whether this kind of industry has a future in that area. And right now, I mean, depending on how this goes, I mean, look, this could wrap up within a month without ever putting boots on the ground, and bing, bang, boom, no harm, no foul. Or this could extend for 10 years, the way, like something like Iraq or Afghanistan did.
It's going to pass like a kidney stone.
Honestly, I lean more toward that. I lean more toward it's probably going to pass quickly, but I remember everybody thinking that Iraq was going to pass by quickly too.
I'm looking at the traveling over Asia is just booming right now with travelers, not only for their Disney parks, but the newest cruise ship that comes out of the Singapore port. And I was looking at these recent vlogs and the resorts over there and the accommodations. I mean, I'm like blown away, and people are just going, and they make it seem like it's not a big deal, but it kind of is to go to that part of the world. Asia's not that far from from this place here that we're talking about. And I'm just like seeing all these, you know, vloggers in Singapore and the accommodations they have. And I just think it's wild that the Adventure is sailing out of that port in Singapore. I can't really process why that port, but
Well, I mean, it's always fascinating when you have these giant resorts in these other countries, like in Asia and whatnot, because like my wife's family is from the Philippines originally. My wife was born here, but her family's from the Philippines. And so like they go back every once in a while, and she tells me the resorts and the beaches are like gorgeous. But then like once you step outside that resort bubble, it's just like poverty.
That's so true. Yeah. That's
which you know is always like such a like I know a guy who was involved with the WWE, and he was telling me about when they would go to Saudi Arabia to do these shows, and he was just like, man, he's like, they kind of don't even let you look at the other areas. They just kind of they took us from the airport right into Riyadh, and then you know like just it was the most lavish thing he's ever experienced, because there's just so much money in that region. So you know we'll see what happens you know as the you know what's going on in the world continues, and whether or not this specific area has got future.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.